My friends, we gather here today not to discuss theories or philosophies, but to forge the steel of your character in the fires of truth. You have come seeking something more than mere inspiration. You seek transformation. You seek the power to stand unmoved when the storms of life rage around you. You seek to become untouchable, unshakable, unfazed. Let me be clear from the outset. What I am about to share with you is not for the weak-hearted. It is not for those who seek comfort in their limitations or validation from the masses. This message is for those who understand that true power comes not from what others think of you, but from what you know about yourself. Today, we will build your fortress of confidence, not the brittle confidence that crumbles at the first sign of opposition, but the unshakable confidence that grows stronger under pressure, the kind of confidence that makes others wonder what you know that they do not. You must understand this fundamental truth. Confidence is not a feeling. It is a decision. It is a strategic choice you make about how you will show up in this world, regardless of circumstances. When you wait to feel confident before you act confidently, you have already surrendered your power to external forces. Think of the great oak tree. Does it wait for perfect weather to stand tall? Does it bend its branches in apology when the wind grows fierce? No. It has decided what it is, and it acts accordingly. Rain or shine, wind or calm, it remains an oak tree. This is your first lesson in unshakable confidence. Consider this scenario. You walk into a room full of people who have achieved more than you, earned more than you, possess credentials you lack. The ordinary person's mind immediately begins the comparison game. They shrink, they defer, they apologize for their presence through their posture and their words. But you are not ordinary people. You walk into that same room with a different understanding. You recognize that your value is not determined by comparison. Your worth is not up for debate. You carry yourself as if you belong there because you have decided that you do. This is not delusion. This is strategic confidence. Here is what you must do. Starting today, you will practice the art of assumption. You will assume your place at the table. You will assume your right to speak. You will assume your worthiness of respect. Not because you have earned it through external validation, but because you have declared it through internal conviction. When someone challenges your position, you do not defend it desperately. You acknowledge their perspective with the calm assurance of someone who knows their own mind. When someone questions your capabilities, you do not list your qualifications like a frightened job applicant. You simply proceed to demonstrate your competence through action. This is the difference between reactive confidence and proactive confidence. Reactive confidence depends on proving yourself to others. Proactive confidence depends on proving yourself to yourself and then allowing others to witness the evidence. Now we come to the crucial matter of emotional detachment. Listen carefully, for this principle separates the masters from the masses. Emotional detachment does not mean you become cold or uncaring. It means you become strategic about which emotions you allow to drive your decisions. Every day, people around you are making decisions based on fear, anger, jealousy, and the desperate need for approval. They react to every slight, respond to every provocation, and allow their emotional state to be determined by external circumstances. This is emotional slavery, and you will not participate in it. When someone criticizes your work, your ideas, or your character, you have two choices. You can allow their words to penetrate your emotional defenses and throw you off balance, or you can receive their feedback with the detached interest of a scientist examining data. Which response serves your long-term interest better? Let me tell you about a man I once knew who built an empire while his competitors destroyed themselves through emotional reactions. Every time a rival company launched an attack against his business, his competitors expected him to respond with equal aggression. Instead, he would smile, thank them for bringing the matter to his attention, and then proceed with his original plan as if nothing had happened. His competitors became increasingly frustrated by his lack of reaction. They escalated their attack, spending more and more resources trying to provoke a response. Meanwhile, he continued building his business methodically and deliberately. In the end, they exhausted themselves fighting shadows. While he captured the market, they were too distracted to serve. This is the power of emotional detachment. When you refuse to be pulled into other people's emotional storms, you maintain your ability to think clearly and act strategically. You become like a mountain that watches the weather change around it, but remains unmoved by the temporary turbulence. Here is your practical exercise. For the next 30 days, you will practice the pause. Every time someone says or does something that would normally trigger an emotional reaction, you will pause for 3 seconds before responding. In those 3 seconds, you will ask yourself, how would the most composed version of myself handle this situation? You will not suppress your emotions. You will acknowledge them, thank them for the information they provide, and then choose your response based on your long-term objectives rather than your momentary feelings. This is how you develop emotional sovereignty. The masses fear silence. They fill every pause with nervous chatter, every moment of reflection with mindless noise. They mistake volume for strength and constant talking for intelligence. You will not make these mistakes. Silence is one of your most powerful tools. It commands attention without demanding it. It projects confidence without proclaiming it. It creates space for others to reveal their true intentions while protecting your own strategic position. When someone makes an unreasonable demand, you do not immediately explain why it cannot be done. You remain silent for a moment, allowing the weight of their request to settle in the air between you. Often, they will begin to negotiate with themselves, reducing their demands before you have said a word. When someone hurls an insult in your direction, you do not leap to defend yourself. You look at them with the calm interest of someone observing an interesting phenomenon. Your silence forces them to fill the space, and more often than not, they will reveal more about their own insecurities than they intended. When someone tries to pressure you into making a quick decision, you do not explain why you need time to think. You simply say, "I will consider this and get back to you." Your silence in the face of pressure demonstrates that you cannot be rushed or manipulated. This does not mean you become aloof or unresponsive. It means you become selective about when and how you engage. You speak when you have something valuable to contribute, not when silence makes you uncomfortable. Think of the master chess player. They do not move their pieces frantically across the board to prove they are thinking. They study the position, consider their options, and make their move when they are ready. Each move is deliberate, purposeful, strategic. This is how you must approach your conversations and your life. Your exercise for this principle is simple but not easy. Each day, you will practice holding your tongue for 5 additional seconds in 3 different conversations. You will resist the urge to fill the silence immediately. You will observe how others respond to your composed presence. You will begin to understand the power that comes from being comfortable with quiet. Here we reach the heart of unshakable confidence. You must become independent from the opinions of others, not dismissive of feedback, not arrogant in your certainty, but independent from the need for constant approval and validation. Most people live their entire lives as prisoners of other people's opinions. They dress to impress others, speak to please others, make decisions to avoid disappointing others. They have traded their authentic power for the temporary comfort of fitting in, and they wonder why they feel empty and unfulfilled. You must understand that seeking approval is like chasing your own shadow. The harder you run toward it, the faster it moves away from you. But when you stop chasing and simply stand in your own light, the shadow falls behind you where it belongs. This does not mean you ignore all feedback or believe yourself incapable of error. It means you develop your own internal compass for what is right and wrong, valuable and worthless, worth pursuing and worth abandoning. You listen to others, you consider their perspectives, but you make your decisions based on your own judgment and your own values. When someone praises your work, you receive it graciously, but you do not depend on it for your sense of worth. When someone criticizes your efforts, you examine their feedback objectively, but you do not allow it to shake your fundamental confidence in your abilities. Consider the entrepreneur who launches a business despite the skepticism of friends and family. The weak entrepreneur spends countless hours trying to convince others that their idea has merit. They seek permission from people who lack the vision to see what they see. They allow doubt from others to create doubt within themselves. The strong entrepreneur presents their idea clearly and then proceeds with their plan regardless of the response. They understand that breakthrough innovations always face resistance from those invested in the status quo. They know that the only validation that matters is the validation that comes from results. Your daily practice must include this exercise. Each morning, you will spend 5 minutes reminding yourself of your core values and your long-term objectives. You will ask yourself, what do I know to be true about who I am and what I am capable of achieving? This becomes your internal reference point for the day. Throughout the day, when you find yourself seeking approval or fearing disapproval, you will return to this internal reference point. You will ask yourself, am I making this decision based on my own judgment or based on what others might think? This simple question will help you maintain your independence. Mental toughness is not about being harsh or unfeeling. It is about developing the capacity to maintain your focus and your composure regardless of external circumstances. It is about building a mind that cannot be easily disturbed or deterred. The mentally tough individual does not avoid difficulties. They understand that challenges are the gymnasium where mental strength is developed. They do not seek the easy path because they know that easy paths lead to weak destinations. When faced with criticism, they do not crumble or become defensive. They extract whatever truth might be contained within the criticism and discard the rest. When faced with setbacks, they do not waste time lamenting their misfortune. They analyze what went wrong, adjust their approach, and move forward with renewed determination. When faced with uncertainty, they do not paralyze themselves with endless analysis. They gather the available information, make the best decision they can with what they know, and remain flexible enough to adjust as new information becomes available. This mental toughness must be developed through deliberate practice. You cannot build it by avoiding challenges any more than you can build physical strength by avoiding exercise. You must seek out situations that test your resolve and your composure. Start with small challenges. When you are running late and encounter traffic, you practice maintaining your calm instead of allowing frustration to overwhelm you. When someone cuts in front of you in line, you practice responding with grace instead of indignation. When technology fails at an inconvenient moment, you practice problem solving instead of complaining. These small victories in maintaining your composure build the foundation for larger victories when the stakes are higher. The executive who can remain calm during a minor equipment failure is better prepared to lead effectively during a major crisis. Your mental toughness must also include the ability to delay gratification. The weak mind wants everything immediately. It cannot tolerate the discomfort of waiting, working, or persevering through difficult periods. The tough mind understands that the best rewards come to those who can maintain their effort over extended periods. When you feel the urge to quit, to take the easy way out, to abandon your long-term goals for short-term comfort, you will remind yourself why you started. You will reconnect with your vision of who you are becoming and what you are building. You will choose the temporary discomfort of discipline over the permanent disappointment of regret. Everything you do sends a message. Every word you speak, every action you take, every reaction you display communicates something about who you are and what you stand for. The person with unshakable confidence understands this and chooses their responses strategically. Most people react automatically to whatever happens around them. Someone speaks to them rudely, they respond rudely. Someone praises them, they become effusive with gratitude. Someone challenges them, they become defensive. They have surrendered control of their behavior to external stimuli. You must become the master of your responses. This means developing the space between stimulus and response where choice lies. In that space, you will evaluate the situation, consider your options, and choose the response that best serves your long-term interests. When someone attempts to provoke you with an insult, you have multiple response options. You could respond with an insult of your own, but this puts you on their level and gives them the satisfaction of knowing they affected you. You could become defensive and explain why their insult is unfounded, but this suggests their opinion carries weight with you. Or you could respond with composed indifference, treating their words as you would treat background noise. The strategic response acknowledges what was said without being controlled by it. You might say something like, "I can see you feel strongly about this," and then redirect the conversation to more productive territory. This response demonstrates that you heard them without being hurt by them, that you are confident enough to remain focused on what matters. When someone makes a demand that you cannot or will not fulfill, you do not offer elaborate justifications or apologies. You simply state your position clearly and calmly. "That won't be possible" is often sufficient. If they press for explanations, you can provide them, but you do not allow yourself to be drawn into negotiations about matters that are not negotiable. When someone tries to rush you into a decision, you maintain your deliberate pace. "I understand this is important to you. I will need until tomorrow to give you a thoughtful response." Your refusal to be pressured communicates that you make decisions based on careful consideration, not on external pressure. The key is consistency. Your responses must align with your values and your objectives every time, not just when it is convenient. This consistency builds your reputation as someone who cannot be manipulated or controlled through emotional tactics. Practice this strategic response system by observing your automatic reactions over the next week. Notice when you respond without thinking, when you allow others to determine your emotional state, when you say yes when you mean no, or no when you mean yes. Begin to insert that crucial pause between what happens to you and how you respond to it. True confidence comes from knowing you can handle whatever life presents to you. This is not arrogance or recklessness. It is the quiet assurance that comes from developing genuine competence and self-reliance. Most people build their confidence on external foundations. They feel confident when they have money in the bank, when their relationships are stable, when their health is good, when their work is going well. But external foundations are inherently unstable. Markets crash, relationships end, health problems arise, jobs disappear. When their external supports crumble, their confidence crumbles with them. You must build your confidence on internal foundations. You must develop skills that cannot be taken away from you. knowledge that becomes part of who you are, and mental resources that grow stronger through use rather than weaker through depletion. Start with your problem-solving abilities. Every challenge you face and overcome adds to your evidence that you can handle difficulties. Every skill you master increases your confidence in your ability to master new skills. Every fear you face and move through, despite the discomfort, proves to yourself that fear does not control you. Build your financial intelligence, not just your financial resources. Money can be lost or stolen, but the knowledge of how to create value and generate income becomes a permanent part of your arsenal. Learn how money works, how businesses operate, how to create value for others. This knowledge makes you resilient regardless of economic conditions. Develop your physical capabilities. A strong, healthy body supports a strong, confident mind. Regular exercise builds not only physical strength, but mental discipline. The person who can push through physical discomfort in the gym is better prepared to push through mental discomfort in challenging situations. Cultivate your intellectual resources. Read books that challenge your thinking. Study subjects that interest you deeply. Develop expertise in areas that matter to you. A well-educated mind is a confident mind because it has more options and more perspectives to draw upon when facing difficulties. Build your network of relationships, but do not depend on these relationships for your sense of worth. Connect with people who inspire you, challenge you, and support your growth. Be generous with your own knowledge and assistance, but remember that true self-reliance means you can succeed even if you have to do it alone. Most importantly, develop your ability to start over. Life will knock you down. Businesses will fail. Relationships will end. Plans will not work out as expected. The person with unshakable confidence knows they can rebuild, restart, and recreate whatever needs to be created. They do not fear failure because they know failure is not permanent. Your assignment is to identify one area where you currently depend too heavily on external support. Maybe you rely on others to make decisions for you, or you avoid taking risks because you fear what people will think, or you postpone pursuing your goals because you are waiting for perfect conditions. Choose one area and begin building your self-reliance there. Confidence is not built in a day or destroyed in a moment. It is built through the compound effect of consistent choices over time. Every time you choose courage over comfort, every time you choose truth over convenience, every time you choose action over hesitation, you make a deposit in your confidence account. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. They wait for dramatic moments to prove their worth or build their confidence. They want the grand gesture, the perfect opportunity, the ideal circumstances. Meanwhile, they miss thousands of small opportunities to practice confidence in everyday situations. The person who speaks up in small meetings builds the confidence to speak up in important meetings. The person who maintains their composure during minor inconveniences develops the resilience to remain calm during major crises. The person who keeps their commitments to themselves in small matters earns the right to trust themselves with larger matters. This compound effect works in both directions. Just as small acts of confidence build larger confidence over time, small acts of self-betrayal erode confidence incrementally. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you avoid a difficult conversation, every time you choose the path of least resistance when you know you should choose the path of integrity, you make a withdrawal from your confidence account. The good news is that you get to choose which direction the compound effect works in your life. You can begin today to make deposits instead of withdrawals. You can start with something as simple as keeping a promise you make to yourself, speaking honestly in a conversation where you would normally tell people what they want to hear, or taking action on a goal instead of talking about it. Consider the professional who has spent years avoiding conflict and difficult conversations. They have told themselves they are being diplomatic, but they know they are being cowardly. Their confidence in their leadership abilities has eroded because they have evidence that they avoid difficult situations. But they can begin to reverse this pattern immediately. The next time a difficult conversation needs to happen, they can choose to have it, not perfectly, not with complete comfort, but with courage and honesty. This one conversation begins to rebuild their confidence in their ability to handle conflict. The next difficult conversation becomes slightly easier because they have evidence that they can do it. Over time, this person becomes known as someone who addresses issues directly and honestly. Their reputation changes because their behavior has changed consistently over time. More importantly, their self-image changes because they have new evidence about who they are and what they are capable of doing. Your daily practices must include regular confidence-building activities. Set small goals and achieve them. Make commitments to yourself and keep them. Take on challenges that stretch your abilities without overwhelming them. Each success, no matter how small, adds to your body of evidence that you are capable and reliable. Track your progress. Keep a simple record of the ways you demonstrate confidence each day. This could be as simple as noting in a journal, "Today I spoke up in the team meeting even though I was nervous," or "Today I maintained my composure when that client was unreasonable." This record becomes proof of your growth over time. Now we come to one of the most powerful principles of unshakable confidence. You must learn to act as if your success is inevitable, not because you are guaranteed success, but because this mindset creates the conditions that make success more likely. When you act as if success is inevitable, you make decisions from a position of abundance rather than scarcity. You take calculated risks because you believe in your ability to handle the consequences. You invest in your long-term growth because you expect to be around to enjoy the benefits. You treat temporary setbacks as minor course corrections rather than permanent defeats. This is not the same as being reckless or overconfident. Acting as if success is inevitable means you approach your goals with the methodical persistence of someone who knows that achievement is a matter of When, not if, you do not rush because you are not desperate. You do not quit because you understand that persistence is part of the process. The person who acts as if success is inevitable does not waste time on backup plans that undermine their primary plan. They do not hedge their bets in ways that limit their potential. They commit fully to their chosen path while remaining flexible about the specific methods they use to travel that path. When obstacles arise, they do not interpret these obstacles as signs that they should quit. They see obstacles as problems to be solved, skills to be developed, or character to be built. They ask, how do I get through this? Not, should I give up? When other people express doubt about their goals, they do not feel compelled to convince the doubters or defend their vision. They understand that people can only see what they have the vision to see, and they do not take other people's limitations as evidence of their own limitations. This mindset must be cultivated deliberately because it goes against the natural tendency to protect yourself from disappointment by expecting the worst. Your mind will try to convince you that pessimism is realism and that optimism is naivety. But successful people understand that optimism is often the most realistic approach because it motivates the actions that create positive outcomes. Start each day by visualizing your goals as already achieved, not as fantasy or wishful thinking, but as a preview of coming attractions. See yourself living the life you are working to create. Feel the satisfaction of having overcome the obstacles you currently face. This visualization is not escapism. It is mental rehearsal for actual performance. Throughout the day, make decisions as the person you are becoming, not just as the person you currently are. If you are building a business, make decisions as a successful entrepreneur. If you are developing leadership skills, make decisions as an effective leader. This practice helps you grow into the role you are preparing to fill. When people ask about your plans or your progress, speak about your goals with the quiet confidence of someone who knows where they are going. You do not need to convince them or seek their approval. You simply share your vision as a fact that is unfolding rather than a hope that might or might not materialize. True confidence integrates power with humility, strength with service, achievement with gratitude. The person with unshakable confidence does not need to diminish others to feel important or to prove their worth through comparison and competition. Power without humility becomes arrogance. Humility without power becomes weakness. But power combined with humility creates the kind of presence that commands respect without demanding it, that influences others without manipulating them, that leads without dominating. The confident person acknowledges their strengths without apology, but also acknowledges their limitations without shame. They know what they know, and they know what they do not know. They are willing to learn from anyone who has something valuable to teach them, regardless of that person's status or credentials. They do not feel threatened by other people's success because they understand that there is room for everyone to succeed. They celebrate others' achievements because they recognize that success in any form raises the standard for everyone. They collaborate rather than compete because they know that the best results come from combining strengths rather than hiding weaknesses. When they make mistakes, they acknowledge them quickly and completely. They do not make excuses or blame others because they understand that taking responsibility is a sign of strength, not weakness. They learn from their errors and adjust their approach without losing confidence in their overall direction. When they achieve success, they remain grounded by remembering the people who helped them along the way and the circumstances that made their success possible. They use their success as a platform to lift others rather than as a pedestal to separate themselves from others. This integration of power and humility must be practiced consciously because the temptations of ego are constant. When you achieve something significant, notice the tendency to become inflated with pride. When you receive praise, notice the tendency to begin believing you are superior to others. When you face criticism, notice the tendency to become defensive or dismissive. The person with integrated confidence responds to success with gratitude and increased responsibility. They respond to praise with appreciation and continued effort. They respond to criticism with openness and discernment. They remain the same person in victory and defeat, in praise and criticism, in public and private. Your practice for this principle involves daily reflection on your motivations and your impact on others. Ask yourself, am I using my strengths to serve something larger than myself? Am I treating others with the respect I would want to receive? Am I staying connected to the values that matter most to me regardless of external circumstances? In every situation, you have the opportunity to position yourself strategically. This does not mean being manipulative or deceptive. It means being intentional about how you present yourself and your ideas to maximize your effectiveness and influence. The person with unshakable confidence understands that perception matters, but they do not become enslaved to other people's perceptions. Instead, they take responsibility for managing the impressions they create through their words, actions, and presence. When entering any room or situation, you must decide who you're going to be in that context. Are you going to be the expert or the student, the leader or the collaborator, the problem solver or the problem identifier? Your choice will determine how others perceive you and how you perceive yourself. This positioning must be authentic to who you are, but it can emphasize different aspects of your personality and capabilities depending on what the situation requires. The confident person has access to multiple versions of themselves and can call upon the most appropriate version for each circumstance. In a negotiation, you might emphasize your analytical skills and your understanding of market dynamics. In a creative meeting, you might emphasize your innovative thinking and your willingness to explore unconventional solutions. In a crisis situation, you might emphasize your calm decision making and your ability to see the bigger picture. The key is that you are not pretending to be someone you are not. You are choosing to highlight the aspects of your authentic self that are most relevant and valuable in each situation. This requires self-awareness about your strengths and the wisdom to know when and how to deploy them. Your positioning also involves controlling the frame of every interaction. The frame is the context within which the conversation or relationship operates. Weak people allow others to set the frame and then react within that framework. Strong people either accept frames that serve their purposes or establish new frames that create better outcomes for everyone involved. If someone tries to position you as defensive by making accusations, you can reframe the conversation by focusing on solutions rather than problems. If someone tries to position you as desperate by creating artificial urgency, you can reframe the interaction by emphasizing your standards and your timeline. This strategic positioning extends to your long-term reputation and personal brand. Every interaction is an opportunity to reinforce the image you want to create in the minds of others, not through false representation, but through consistent demonstration of your values, capabilities, and character. People should know what to expect from you. They should understand what you stand for, what you are committed to, and how you approach challenges and opportunities. This predictability in your character creates trust and influence over time. Your daily practice involves becoming more conscious of how you are positioning yourself in every interaction. Before important conversations, ask yourself, how do I want to be perceived in this situation? What aspects of my personality and capabilities are most relevant here? How can I frame this interaction to create the best outcome for everyone involved? We come now to the ultimate expression of unshakable confidence. You must transform from someone who reacts to life into someone who creates life, from someone who responds to circumstances into someone who shapes circumstances, from someone who is influenced by their environment into someone who influences their environment. Most people live reactive lives. They get up each morning and respond to whatever demands are placed upon them. They allow other people's priorities to become their priorities. They let external events determine their mood, their focus, and their actions. They are thermometers, constantly adjusting to the temperature around them. You must become a thermostat. You must decide what temperature you want your life to be, and then work consistently to create and maintain that temperature regardless of external conditions. This is the difference between living by design and living by default. The creative person takes responsibility for their experience of life. They understand that while they cannot control everything that happens to them, they can control their response to everything that happens to them. More importantly, they can take proactive steps to create the conditions that make positive outcomes more likely. Instead of waiting for opportunities, they create opportunities. Instead of hoping for better circumstances, they work to improve their circumstances. Instead of complaining about problems, they develop solutions. Instead of being victims of their past, they become architects of their future. This transformation requires a fundamental shift in how you think about causation. Most people believe that external events cause internal experiences. They think that getting a promotion will make them feel successful, that finding the right relationship will make them feel loved, that accumulating wealth will make them feel secure. But the confident person understands that causation flows in the opposite direction. They feel successful first, and then they create the conditions that lead to external success. They feel worthy of love first, and then they attract loving relationships. They feel secure in their abilities first, and then they take the actions that create financial security. This is not magical thinking or positive thinking. This is strategic thinking. When you feel successful, you make decisions like a successful person. When you feel worthy, you set standards like a worthy person. When you feel secure, you take risks like a secure person. These decisions and standards and risk create the external results that match your internal state. Your final assignment is the most important one. You must decide right now to stop waiting for permission to become who you are meant to be. Stop waiting for perfect conditions to pursue your goals. Stop waiting for other people to recognize your worth before you claim it yourself. You must decide to act from confidence rather than waiting to feel confident. You must decide to take leadership rather than waiting to be appointed as a leader. You must decide to create value rather than waiting for someone to tell you that you are valuable. This decision will not be comfortable. It will require you to do things before you feel ready to do them. It will require you to take risks without guarantees. It will require you to stand alone sometimes when others are not yet ready to stand with you. But this is the price of transformation. This is the cost of moving from reactive living to creative living. This is what it takes to develop unshakable confidence that serves not only your own success, but the success of everyone whose life you touch. My friends, everything I have shared with you today is meaningless unless you act upon it. Knowledge without application is merely entertainment. Understanding without implementation is merely intellectual exercise. You did not come here to be entertained or to engage in intellectual exercises. You came here to transform your life. Starting today, you will begin to practice these principles not when it is convenient, not when you feel ready, not when conditions are perfect, but immediately and consistently. You will practice them in small situations so that you will be prepared for large situations. You will practice them when the stakes are low so that you will be confident when the stakes are high. You will practice emotional detachment when someone cuts you off in traffic. You will practice strategic silence when someone tries to provoke you with meaningless criticism. You will practice independence from validation when someone disapproves of your choices. You will practice mental toughness when faced with minor inconveniences. You will practice strategic positioning in every conversation. You will practice acting as if your success is inevitable when progress seems slow. These are not suggestions. These are requirements for anyone who chooses to live with unshakable confidence. The world needs people who cannot be shaken, who cannot be manipulated, who cannot be deterred from their purpose by temporary obstacles or permanent critics. You have the opportunity to become such a person. Not someday, but starting right now. Not when you feel ready, but by making yourself ready through action. Not when others believe in you, but by demonstrating through your results that their belief is irrelevant to your success. The storms of life will come. The critics will always find something to criticize. The obstacles will always require effort to overcome, but you will stand unmoved because you have built your confidence on the unshakable foundation of your own character, your own capabilities, and your own commitment to becoming the person you are meant to be. Go now and prove to yourself and to the world that unshakable confidence is not a gift reserved for the chosen few. It is a skill that can be developed by anyone who is willing to do the work, face the fears, and pay the price of transformation. Your time is now. Your opportunity is here. Your destiny awaits your decision. Act as if you are unfazed because you are choosing to be unfazed. Act as if you belong because you are deciding that you belong. Act as if your success is inevitable because you are committed to making it inevitable through your consistent daily actions. The world is waiting to see what you will become when you stop asking permission and start taking ownership of your life. Show them. Show yourself. Show everyone who has ever doubted what becomes possible when someone chooses unshakable confidence over comfortable conformity. Your transformation begins now.